to recondition toilet water, and then that's what flushes your toilets, and then that's what goes out. So basically, take out all the times a family of 5 plus an ADU would flush a toilet in a year, and all that water is not going into the sewer until it's coming out of the house first. So it goes in, gets used twice, and then gets out. So our number one issue developing here in Colorado is water. So when I was at this mayor's meeting the other day, they said it's actually not land use, it's not noise, it's not a lot of the other traditional things. It's water. Just our county has 8,000 backlogged water permits that they're waiting to get issued. So we're hoping to get to the top of the line, because the two biggest issues the city has are they want affordable housing that doesn't take a lot of water. So here comes us with this green initiative that says, hey, we can build sustainably, we can zero-scape everything, we can create solar and electric charging, and create this whole thing that Jason's about to talk about. And the developer said, I could actually stamp this out everywhere. Let's go. So that's what we wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah, one of the other guys in our crew, Nelson.
That's who I hooked him up with. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. So Nelson was super helpful, and then John Meyer was his dev. So yeah, super nice guys, really helpful. But yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah. So really, Nelson gets the credit, not me. I just connected you with Nelson. I'm a good connector.
The most important piece, Katie. So absolutely, getting connected with the right people is very, very important. So don't underestimate the importance of being a great connector.
Yep. Well, cool. Well, let's get started. Thank you guys for being here. Since we're recording now, I'll do an actual introduction. Tyler and Jason. Tyler is an EXP agent here in Colorado. Jason is her husband, and they are some big thinkers. They've got lots of big projects going on, and I'm super excited for all of us to hear what they have to share today. So you guys are welcome to take the floor, screen share, whatever you're wanting to do, and it's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you, Katie, for the wonderful introduction. And thank you, Tyler, for being my wife and my superpower. So let me go ahead and fire up the screen here, and let me know if that's coming in for everybody. All right. So cooperative ownership. This is something that Tyler and I are very passionate about, because especially here in Colorado, it's getting increasingly unaffordable for people to have home ownership. And one of the ways that we're wanting to facilitate that is using blockchain property tokens. And I don't know if it was you that did the image here, Katie, but if it was, absolutely love that. And one of the things that we're actually going to do for people that haven't had much exploration, we're actually going to turn this image that you created into an NFT. So everybody that's on here has the opportunity of getting a digital collectible, and that's something that we'll send out an email so that you can actually collect that. And if you need any help as far as how to actually claim that, that's another conversation. But that's one of the fun ways that we love using technology, kind of like a proof of participation for joining the EXP Climate Action Network here today on June the 12th. So anyway, this is a disclaimer slide that my wonderful wife, besides being a real estate licensed professional, she's also a securities licensed professional. And one of the other securities licenses that she's going to be obtaining here in 2024 is the SIE and the Series 82, and currently holds a Series 65 securities license, which for those that aren't familiar, like real estate has some barriers of entry for becoming a accredited investor. And the Series 65 is a fabulous securities license where if you don't have that $1 million of net worth, not including your primary residence, that's an opportunity where you can check that box to become an accredited investor, and you don't have to actually be licensed with a broker firm. So just kind of planting that seed as far as an opportunity, because one of the things that I absolutely see is going to happen in the coming years is that there's going to be a blurring around real estate professionals and financial professionals. And a lot of that has to do with the tokenization of real world assets, especially tokenizing real estate. But I'm not going to unpack that anymore right now. So what is my background? So before I slipped into what I self-identify now as a social and serial entrepreneur, I was actually an IT professional as a network engineer from the late 90s. Did that for several decades. And in 2018, really got burnt out with the on-call demands that IT was having. And even in 2024, and even though that I've made $1 million or $2 million doing IT in 2024, if I had to grind for a dollar, I would actually rather do Uber, Lyft, or Airbnb. And that's one of the things that we actually have a pretty solid source of income with Airbnb, with our proof of concept house here in North Glen, Colorado. But if I had to say why that I would rather do Uber, Lyft, or Airbnb than make six figures doing IT, it's because of one word: freedom. So most of the time, it's been my experience whenever I mention crypto, blockchain, or technology, you actually get this little emoji, like the exploding head emoji. And because a lot of times people associate crypto with number go up, or some cases number go down, and just investing in cryptocurrencies. And there's actually a lot more use cases surrounding that, one of which is the tokenization of real estate, and then also the opportunity of substantially streamlining the buy and sell process surrounding real estate. So for people that love to get a little bit better backstory, one of the books that we love pointing people towards is Bitcoin Simplified, and it really talks about the history of money. And when you really just simplify Bitcoin, it's really the first time in the history of money that we can actually do peer-to-peer financial transactions where we don't have to get permission from a central issuer, whether that's a bank or a government. So it's really a technology evolution that has changed things and will continue to change things in a very large way. And for those, an even more recent book, this is one that was published in 2024 of January, and it really talks about read, write, own, and absolutely recommend that. That's one that I recently listened to on a recent road trip to Cleveland. So as I mentioned, people here will have the opportunity of getting this wonderful image that Katie created to represent our conversation today. And one of the things that we love doing in our in community building that we do is that we embrace a FELG culture, which stands for fun, earning, learning, and giving. And when you think about those four things, like, who wouldn't want to do any of those things? And we're pretty blessed financially in 2024. Probably me, I embrace this probably a little bit more than Tyler, because she does a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes for doing what we do. But if it's not fun, like, normally don't embrace doing it. So, and one of the things from a underlying technology thing that we do, like to create this NFT to represent the conversation here today, Unlock Protocol is a very easy thing. You don't have to have a technology background or be a dev or anything like that, but it creates the ability to do event-based NFTs, and then one of the other ways that we're using that within our community is as a proof of membership. So if you wanted to do a deeper dive on the underlying thing, but that's one of the things. It's literally going to take me less than 5 minutes to create the NFT using the image here to surround this conversation here today. So let's talk about Gigs Go Green, because as you saw here, green rides, green homes. So Gigs Go Green is a movement that we're creating for gig workers. And gig workers is a pretty large umbrella, and we're specifically targeting Uber and Lyft drivers. Because when you think about Uber and Lyft, especially in urban areas, has absolutely transcended to a public good supporting local communities. And I don't remember if I unpacked, but since 2016, I've personally done 12,000 trips on Uber and Lyft. So I have a very good understanding, and I'm actually creating gigs go green for me so that I can have more ownership in society today. So we're creating 3 synergistic cooperatives, the first of which is Tesla Black. And the reason that we're calling it Black, first of all, I believe that Teslas are the best vehicle for Uber and Lyft drivers to, one, make the most money, but then on the flip side of that conversation, reduce their operating expenses. And this is based upon my 12,000 trips over the last, what is that? Eight years now? Man, I'm getting old. So, and specifically, the color matters. Like, in order for an Uber or Lyft driver to check the ultra premium box like Uber Black or Lyft Lux Black, one thing that you notice there, black. And the color of the vehicle absolutely matters. And not only that, but the opportunity with the Tesla Model Y with the 7-passenger to be able to do those party rides, you know, whether it's whatever the case may be, where the party needs 6 passengers, having a 7-passenger vehicle to make the 2x premium for the XL rides. So what we're looking to do, and I've got another slide to do a little bit deeper dive of what that looks like from a cooperative ownership model. But now that we've got these cooperatively owned Teslas supporting our local communities, guess what? These vehicles need to charge somewhere. So this is another cooperative ownership situation that we're creating, and I think I've got another slide to talk about that a little bit more. And then Web3 CLT. CLT is an acronym for Community Land Trust, and that's one of the other ways that we're really fostering community ownership. So as that we're working on creating this movement, felt that it was imperative to go patent pending. One of the reasons that we're going patent pending, and as of April the 9th, we're now patent pending for cooperative ownership of various types of property using blockchain tokens. So not going to unpack that anymore. One of the reasons that went patent pending, though, was to increase investor confidence in what we're building. So let's take a look at the cooperative ownership model surrounding Tesla Black. So the most simple micro cooperative that we're creating is with 2 electric vehicles. And those 2 electric vehicles, as you can see here, will empower 4 gig workers. Driver A be a weekday warrior Monday to Thursday. Driver B have the car to do their thing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So this is where we're going to create a token to represent the ownership in this micro cooperative. Because like one of the problems that we're going to solve with this model, like when you think about a traditional car loan situation, you've got one bank lending to one either person or one corporation. One of the problems that we're solving with this model through decentralized finance, or DeFi for short, you've got multiple lenders, and with our cooperative protocol, we're going to have multiple borrowers. So the problem that we're going to solve there, we believe with this model, we can eliminate car loan defaults through our cooperative ownership model. So that gets pretty exciting, because then if you eliminate defaults, that can provide a better return for the investors and just more sustainability at large. And then with this model, it also allows the car to be more efficiently used. And I don't know how good that people are with numbers, but like when you think about how many hours there are in a week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that comes out to 168 hours in a week. And here in Colorado, the Colorado Public Utility Commission has put a limit in place of how much the Uber and Lyft drivers can drive, which is 70 hours a week. And that's a lot. Like I personally have no desire to, I've worked many 70 hours a week doing IT work, and it's grueling. But when you run the numbers out, 168 minus 70, that leaves 98 hours. Plenty of opportunity, like in this model, for driver A and driver B to make a solid living, and then more importantly, reduce their expenses. So moving to the next slide here, now that we've got these electric vehicles, we need to have our own distributed energy resources. And that really has 3 components: solar panels for generating the energy, battery storage for storing the energy, and then EV charging. And when you look through the lens of a gig worker, there's really two scenarios that they need to charge. Like in the middle of the day, even with today's range, like our Tesla, we get 300 miles on a full tank of charge, and we normally only charge to about 80%, which is about 240 miles. So in the middle of the day, you know, the driver's getting hungry, the opportunity to plug in their car, and the most common fast charging infrastructure today is Tesla supercharging. But most of the Tesla superchargers don't have the ability to generate energy. So they're just pulling energy off of the grid and then charging it for a premium. And for those people that don't know, it's a pretty high premium. Like our average as a Tesla owner for the last year is about 35 cents a kilowatt. And here in Colorado, the average rate for electricity at home is about 12 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's almost 3 times as expensive for these gig workers to charge in public. And when you unpack that, a lot of these gig workers don't own their own house. They don't have the ability, if they're in an apartment, a lot of the times to even charge at an overnight charger at their apartment. So creating these cooperatively owned distributed energy infrastructure, whether it's a parking lot model, and then when you think about, okay, so this gig worker, they've done their grind, they put in, 12 hours, 10, 12 hours or whatever, driving people all over the city. The last thing that a gig worker wants to do when they're done grinding is go sit in a parking lot for another half an hour so that they have a full tank of charge. They want to go home, plug their car in at home, which for most of these gig workers isn't an opportunity. And this is one of the opportunities that we, through creating strategic high performance homes, can facilitate a cooperative model and the opportunity to potentially even charge a premium over what the public utility costs for the, because and I'm not going to unpack that anymore, but it's a very strong opportunity, because what happens for a lot of home solar installations is that they're generating more energy than they can use. And here in Colorado, the public utility, investor-owned utility, largely Xcel Energy, they if you send money or send energy back into the grid, they're only paying you pennies on the dollar for what they charge that energy for. So the opportunity to create a cooperative model around homes that are strategic for upgrading with these same 3 components at a smaller scale is a very real opportunity. So that brings us, when you unpack there, whether it's a parking lot or a single family, the opportunity to have a cooperative ownership model is a very real situation. And one of the exciting things that we're wanting to do through this cooperative ownership patent is that we're actually wanting to digitally separate the land from the building improvements. Like here at our Tesla house proof of concept in North Glen, we bought this house very strategically so that we can continue to invest in this asset. Right now, I think Tyler says that we're on average grossing $5,000 to $6,000 a month. And we believe by continuing to invest in the single family house that we can raise that up to $10,000 a month gross by adding a slab of concrete, adding the distributed energy resources that I talked about here on this slide. And then also, one of the reasons that we're wanting to separate the land from the building improvements, like what happens like here in Colorado, is that the county assessor, they actually evaluate what the land value is separately from what the building improvements are. And all indications is that the county assessors, as far as it's basically a made up number that they're evaluating the land on. I even tried to get the property that we're in here appraised with the land value separately than the building improvements. And the appraiser said, hey, we can't do that because they don't have any historicals to go on, because there's these properties, these single family homes are bundled together. So we're actually, through this technology, on-chain technology, wanting to unbundle the land. Because like when you think about also most people that are homeowners, most of the time homeowners aren't thinking about developing the land, fast forward 20 or 40 years or whatever the case may be. And in a lot of situations, we're already seeing where the land is being improved upon, higher density housing and stuff like that. And that's going to continue to occur at a very rapid clip as we're looking to increase the density in desirable urban areas. So, and the exciting thing about the community land trust model that we're creating here is that that can be governed separately than the building improvements. And a very common example of this that a lot of people may or may not be familiar, McDonald's, the hamburger joint, actually operates where McDonald's corporate is one of the largest owners of commercial real estate globally, and the franchisee actually has a lease agreement to McDonald's corporate. So that's a very strong use case that a lot of people may not be familiar with, and this is one of the things that we're looking to do at scale to create equitable, affordable housing in perpetuity. So one of the other things that we're looking to do here in Colorado, we've seen a need to really elevate the education and the value proposition. And as most of us know, most industries have a member-centric trade association. And this is something that Tyler and I are co-founding here in Colorado so that we can really move forward the value propositions that blockchain provides. And finally, I haven't updated the Google form here. This was this slide deck is a presentation that we did for Center for Community Wealth Building earlier in the month. But if you're interested in receiving the NFT, fill out this form and we'll get that sent to you, and we could take that offline. But this is where I wanted to provide any opportunity for people to ask questions. You're on. You've got your mic off, John.
Sorry, I muted everyone.
Okay, there we go. Thanks. I have quite a bit of experience in blockchain, and I'm just curious: are you self-funding this, or are you seeking investor capital for your venture?
Yeah, so let me actually go back. This is also one of the things that's more interesting about our model here. So we're on the brink of launching. So these DAOs are basically like the mothership, if you will. One of the ways that we're bringing our go-to-market strategy is that we have these 3 organizations organized as Colorado public benefit cooperatives. So here later, within the next 60 to 90 days, we're going to be via regulation crowdfunding. And with regulation crowdfunding, we can raise up to $5 million per bucket per entity here. So that will allow us to really fulfill this community owned and operated dynamic. And one of the things that we're wanting to do, one of the reasons that we love regulation crowdfunding, is that you don't have to be an accredited investor. And one of the things, like if I could wave my magic crowdfunding wand, since we're creating these synergistic cooperatives for the primary benefit of gig workers, nothing would make me happier than, and if you run out the numbers again here, I said 5 million. I would love to see 5,000 gig workers that invest $1,000. And that actually would allow us to sell out our regulation crowdfunding offering by doing that. So that's the vehicle that we're looking to raise. And one of the other things that's very different about our model is that we're very intentionally architecting this on a state-by-state basis. Because when you think about investing in a lot of projects or companies, a lot of the times that they've structured that as a national or global situation. And one of the problems that we're solving with the state-by-state model is that by investing in these Colorado public benefit cooperatives, this is capital that'll get deployed here in Colorado as well.
Thank you.
And just to put forward the like one of the opportunities here that we're niching into, when you think about
Niching.
organizations, yes, niching, organizations that serve the community at large, that have a parking lot, there's really several that come to mind, like schools and churches. And then when you think about like a parking lot that's underutilized a good portion of the week, churches are towards the top of that. And we've actually, let me actually go here in another tab. This is a page that we've created here to talk about our solar EV for churches. And this isn't the only situation. Like if people, real estate professionals, have a parking lot, and this actually goes through some of the methodology that we shortlisted some of these list of from a priority standpoint. One of the reasons that we shortlisted these churches, but pretty much any parking lot, especially ones that are within 1 mile of these Colorado highways. But part of the reason is that there's additional incentives within, if it's within a close proximity of a highway, is just additional credits that are available. But when you think about like a parking lot, for a lot of asset owners, a parking lot is in the expense category. Like they have to pay to get the snow shoveled or pay to get it resurfaced. By upgrading it to a distributed energy resource, it very quickly moves it from an expense into an income producing asset. So if there's anybody that has, asset owners that have parking lots that, they would like to move out of the expense category into the income producing asset category, we would love to have those conversations as well.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, is how can real estate agents get more involved in this? How can we help?
Yeah, so one of the things too, and this is something that Tyler and I would love to facilitate a mastermind group, and whether that's something that would meet on a bi-weekly or a monthly basis, because there's increasing amount of tax incentives for single family homeowners, and there's an immense amount of tax credits for the parking lot. Like going back to this, one of the things that's really exciting is this ITC. This stands for investment tax credits. Like we're envisioning that this parking lot model for solar EV is probably going to be anywhere from a $5 million to a $15 million project. And just to put one specific number, like a Tesla Megapack, that alone is a $2 million capital spend. But this investment tax credit provides the opportunity for up to 70% of these investment or the capital spend to come back in an investment tax credit. And there's a marketplace here at Ever.Green that facilitates the selling of these, because that's one of the things through the Inflation Reduction Act that gets very exciting. So going back to the conversation around the mastermind, we love playing what we call the long game here, because like the opportunity to help homeowners, especially strategic homes, because let's be honest, some homes aren't as suitable for investing in, like just due to shading, like trees or other things. So we're working on creating a methodology, and that gets even more exciting. I'm not going to unpack that, but finding strategic homes that could potentially go into this cooperative ownership model is something that we're absolutely interested in having conversations about. And one of the funnels or pipelines that we've had some conversations about is creating where we can work with existing homeowners that are strategic to help them upgrade their home, that could potentially go into this cooperative ownership model that we're creating. And this is something that we're like right now, while we're focused on Colorado, as I alluded, we're absolutely architecting this where it can have national and global scale for states that are strategic for expanding into. And I know that John mentioned he's in Florida. Florida is absolutely one of the states that we're very interested in expanding into for a lot of the reasons, just like Texas. But then also New York, Minnesota, and Illinois are also on the short list, because those states have some very favorable community solar regulations. And that's one of the things that's really exciting about this model. We basically get to become the energy company through community solar. And I didn't even talk about that, but the opportunity of displacing monolithic energy companies such as Excel through community-owned infrastructure with these distributed energy resources is what we're aiming for as well.
Wow.
I've been involved in a lot of these conversations over the past probably I got into crypto blockchain back in 2015 and was writing about it for a financial publishing company. And the lure of this for anybody, but particularly for real estate people, is, as you said, the divisibility of these investments is almost endless, right? So if you're looking to raise 5 million from 5,000 people at $1,000 or 500, whatever that number is, $1,000 a person, it certainly does lower the barrier of entry, and it becomes more of a lure. So can you speak about that a little bit in terms of, I've heard quite a few deck pitches on these things. What, if you can dummy it down, because I know that all of us understood everything you were talking about. So if you can dummy it down one more level. So let's say I'm interested and I have $1,000. How does that participation look like structure? I know you said, I think you showed the DAO. All of them are DAO organizations, right? So I don't know if anyone knows what a DAO is. Decentralized, forgot the A, organization. Autonomous. Yeah, decentralized autonomous. So basically there's no one running the business. There's no CEO. It's all just run by smart contracts and how the organization is set up. So the expense side is almost nil, right? So if I want to put $1,000 into something like that, do you have I don't know, not a pro forma, but do you have any sort of what that investment looks like over, because you said you were looking more long-term than short-term? What do these things, will they pay out some sort of, not a dividend, but will they pay out some sort of crypto?
It's actually, it'd actually be a
Go ahead,
cooperative patronage. It would actually be a cooperative patronage dividend. So we're working through all the performas right now, but our hope is to limit investors to 15%, and then if we generate any more than that, take that back to the cooperative members, which would be the Uber drivers who are living in these greenhouses that we're building. And the whole idea is they're driving the economic incentive. So we really want to give them part of the economics. So we're splitting the governance and the profit sharing, if any, between the investors and the co-op members.
And to do a little deeper dive, so basically, like with the public benefit cooperatives here in Colorado, we have to operate under the guidelines for PBCs, which is basically like a B corporation, if you will. So that's one of the things when you think about what we're creating, it's really a multi-stakeholder governance model. There's going to be people that come in as investors. There's going to be the cooperative members, like the gig workers. And it's going to be a combination of dividends, like from the investor side. And that's one of the things that Tyler alluded to, that we're going to cap the dividend return. And that's one of the things that will be decided upon through this multi-stakeholder governance model that we're creating. And it's going to actually be an opt-in governance model where the investors that invest, and I've got on the screen here, Chainraise is actually the registered broker dealer that we're going to be facilitating our raise through. Because like one of the other value propositions that I don't really think that I touched on a lot, but I did mention that I absolutely anticipate that there's going to be a blurring here in the coming years of professionals, whether it's real estate professionals, financial professionals, and accounting professionals with on-chain technology. But like when you think about moving a real estate asset, once an asset is tokenized, it probably won't be traded or facilitated in a traditional real estate dynamic. And I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with Proppy, Proppy.com. I've personally attended several of their IRL conferences in Miami Beach, and they have a great opportunity where, as a real estate professional, you can actually get crypto certified. So this is something that I would encourage everybody to really explore, and it's very relevant for Colorado. Proppy, and in Florida and Arizona, is a licensed title agency in these 3 states, and I don't know if it's in any additional states, but they have as a basically a Web3 title agency, you can reflect the ownership via an NFT, and that can substantially simplify the buying and selling for future transactions of that property. And that doesn't get into the fractionalization. That's still a one-to-one situation, because once a property is fractionalized, that really makes it turn into what most would identify as a security instrument. But on the flip side of, like, when you think about the blurring here of a real estate asset and a financial asset, the opportunity, like today, most real estate professionals are compensated transactionally. They do a deal, they're compensated on that deal, they're done, they move on to the next deal. And one of the opportunities that exist is to create a better model. We all know that the mortgage, I like to call the mortgage process here, even in 2024, a paper shit show. And the opportunity to use this on-chain technology that can displace, because like when you think again about that one-to-one situation that I alluded, you've got one mortgage lender that's lending to one buyer. And what this technology provides is, through decentralized finance, multiple borrowers, and through this cooperative protocol, we're wanting to be multiple borrowers on that equation. But then also for real estate professionals that really see the opportunity, and this is one of the reasons that Tyler is pursuing her Series 82, is that we believe that real estate professionals that facilitate a tokenized deal, especially a fractionalized tokenized real estate asset, to start getting compensated. Imagine being able to do a deal. You still get compensated for doing that transaction, but then potentially getting compensated through transaction fees for maybe up to 30 years. And that's one of the situations that we absolutely are looking to create, because that gets really exciting. By doing a tokenized deal, the opportunity to get compensated on that for quite a while is very exciting.
Yeah, one more piece on that is that if a lot of realtors sort of have this dream that they have a business, but if you don't have recurring revenue, your business is 100% your relationships, and hopefully you can transition those relationships to somebody else. But if you've got a book of smart contracts, your relationships don't matter nearly as much, because it moves by the contract, doesn't move by the relationship. And now you've actually got a book of business that you can sell. And I think for realtors looking to retire or go to part-time or whatever, to have that big revenue stream recurring, I think could be pretty interesting to a lot of people.
What do you see from this from this actually becoming fruition? What do you see as some of the roadblocks, or are you finding it? I guess the interesting question for me is, are you finding it easy to explain this to, hate to use the word, but lay people that don't understand the blockchain and what this whole digital world is all about? What do you see as some of the barriers of entry for people to get involved in this?
So one of the things that we're excited about, and we're still in a pre-launch, and one of the things that we take a very forward approach as far as from an education, and we radically build in public. Like, we facilitate a lot of the conversations through a Zoom and live stream format. So one of the things that is a barrier historically for people that may or may not know, that don't have like a MetaMask wallet or a Coinbase wallet, and a Coinbase wallet is different than a Coinbase account. But historically, you've had to like write down these 12 words, your seed phrase, and that's one of the things that Coinbase, through their smart wallet, they call it account abstraction. So imagine, instead of going through the process of writing down these words that you have to self-custody and keep track of, that through their smart wallet is being abstracted away to greatly simplify the onboarding experience, or a lot of people call it the user journey. So like, that's one of the things that we're going to be actually participating in Coinbase through their facilitating an on-chain summer event, which is currently underway. And that's one of the things that for Gigs Go Green, we're actually going to be submitting in a build-a-thon or a hackathon and creating our onboarding experience for onboarding these members. And the way that we're structuring, like for people to join this Tesla Black DAO, a gig worker, that one of the things that this is going to be a member-based situation, $97 a year. We think that $97 is a low enough threshold that most people, one of the things that we've found in our conversations is that $100 is normally a threshold. And like to unpack, we mentioned $1,000, that's the goal, but we're actually going to have it even be a lower barrier of entry at $100 for people to invest in our regulation crowdfunding. And part of the reason that we're separating it into these three buckets is to create a very clear delineation, because here in Tesla Black, we're talking about tokenizing and electric vehicles. And then I didn't even mention, but one of the other huge opportunities that we see is actually becoming a mutual insurance company. So like when you think about these gig workers that are providing Uber and Lyft, when somebody's booked on Uber or Lyft, it's then covered under Uber or Lyft insurance. And if these cars are primarily being driven for Uber or Lyft, we think that that's a really sweet spot from an insurance standpoint. And becoming an insurance company for these gig workers is very exciting. So that's one of the things that we're going to go ahead, Tyler.
I was going to say, John, so we're giving you guys a lot more details because this is a more formal setting, and obviously you guys are more sophisticated than a lot of our other audiences. When we do this, the way we like to break it down is to say, I don't actually have any idea how I text your phone and somehow lasers and magic get my phone to your phone. I don't have any idea how email actually works. I don't have any idea how a lot of stuff works. So when we're talking to people, we're saying, hey, we're building green, sustainable housing at an affordable price in an expensive city. Would you like to be part of that? We're helping Uber drivers drive cars that will help them make a lot more money. Would you like to be part of that? That's the intro to these conversations. We're giving you guys a lot of detail that we don't give every audience, because honestly, a lot of people don't care about this stuff. They say, hey, I'm driving a Toyota Corolla and I'm putting 1 million miles on it and I don't want to keep doing that. We're like, hey, would you like to drive a Tesla instead and put the 1 million miles on our car instead of your car? We have here in Colorado the Uber Tesla Partner Program. They are 100% checked out forever, and these drivers are renting them. They don't get any equity in the cars, and they just keep them forever at $400 a week, and they're just buying Uber this fleet of electric cars and not getting anything for it. So we're saying, hey, we're going to cut your costs in half, and you're going to get equity. Would you like to be part of that? The tokenization, the blockchain, the other stuff, we just don't get into that with people unless they care. So say, hey, this is what we're doing. Do you want in? And if you do, then we've got a few extra steps, a wallet, a couple other things. But Jason's very favorite expression is if we sell the vision, the people will come. And that's what we're looking to do. So Katie, back to your question about partnering with realtors, two things. One, we would like to build a model for any realtor in the US or Canada, or maybe even further out than that, to partner up. And we'd love to build these with you guys all over the place. And number two, we've got a really thick affiliate program. So if you have a big network and you want to set something up and you want to start pushing it out, we've got an ongoing annual recurring affiliate program also. So opportunities on the real estate side, opportunities on the marketing side. We have lots of opportunities for realtors to make money with this thing.
Nice. Yeah.
Go ahead, Katie. Sorry.
I was just going to ask a question. So if you want to continue that, go ahead and then I'll ask my question.
Yeah. And just to simplify the narrative, John, like we're positioning this Tesla Black as the most profitable community for these Uber and Lyft drivers. And one of the exciting things that we're going to do to back that up is actually implement some AI methodology where we can show how much more our participants in this cooperative ownership model make through, whether it's the drivers uploading their earning statements and then showing how much that gets increased. But that's another strong use case of AI in what we're doing. And one of the cool things about Teslas is that they have a API where you can get a lot of really cool details on the back end. But anyway, what was your question, Katie?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier that your current house is grossing $5 or $6K a month. And so I was wondering, like, if you could tell us more about your house and what you've done to it and how you're making that money, and if you have any green features on your house and all that kind of stuff. Tell us more about your house.
Yeah, I can take that one. So we have this is actually a pretty small house. It's 2,000 square feet. It's 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, ranch on the first floor. It is 2 bedrooms and a second living area and a second bathroom in the basement. And so we took each of the 3 bedrooms and $400 a week each. And we're full. And we're full all the time. We're running close to 100% occupancy. And what we realized was just doing short-term rentals, solving this long-term need. We're full all the time, but we don't have a way to give people equity. What the next things that we're doing to add the green features to the house, this is where we think we can take it up to $10,000 a month, is we've got a Tesla that we charge 0 to full just on the grid. And when we add the solar roof to the house, that creates the opportunity to charge the charging back to the car company, and then that turns the electric bill into a profit center. The next thing is when we pave the backyard and add a camper, then now we've got low water, low use on that. We're adding 2 green in the backyard. Those things run out for $200. And then going forward with our tiny home development, that's where low water, solar, recycled usage, zero escaping, that's where the savings and the upgrades go. That's where we're going to get the rest of the money.
Wow, that's cool. That actually gave me an idea that, like, most people are like, they want solar on their home, but they don't have the money to just like pay outright in full. So they have to go to lease option, and then their lease option is the same as what their utility bills would be or more sometimes. And they're like, I have to pay that for how many years? And so then they just kind of like talk themselves out of it really quickly. And like, it doesn't make like financial sense, even if they want to do it for the environment, you know? But that just gave me an idea. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is exactly what this is, where it's like, if you could charge somebody to charge their electric vehicle at your house, then now suddenly you're that, you know, break even bill that you were going to have to pay for your lease is now, you're now in the positive because you're charging somebody to charge their electric vehicle at your house or whatever. That makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly what we're trying to do is, and I understand that some people sort of have these weird ideas like, I don't know if I want total strangers pulling up to my house and charging and blah, blah, blah. And then we say, hey, what's your power bill? $200 a month, 400 more. If one of the big challenges is that Colorado, and I'm sure Florida too, and Texas and a lot of places are so sunny, you're generating enough solar to power your house, but you're actually generating a whole lot more that you don't need. And you're selling it back to Excel for 10 cents on the dollar because they're the only buyer. And we're saying, what if we captured it with batteries and resold it to gig workers? Because when you're running, if you're driving full time, you're running at least a full tank of charge or more every day. So if you can get the sun all day, store it in the battery, charge overnight, drain it back out, fill it back up in the morning, your break even could go down. Your break even on your solar panels for your house could go down to like 1 or 2 years. I mean, it could be really, really fast because you're selling your surplus energy at a discount to what the gig worker would be paying. Again, that goes back to the Tesla superchargers charging 35 to 40 cents a kilowatt. You're generating it for 12. You're selling it for somewhere less than 35. That's your margin.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. It all just like clicked in my head. I was like, oh, duh. Go ahead, Keith.
Look, I mean, when Jason and I first started dating, he was renting out his cars and doing Airbnb in his house. And that was terrifying. I was like, you just drive your car or live in your house. You just give them the keys to your house. what if they kill you? He's like, they're not going to kill me. I was like, what if they spill a Coke on your couch? He's like, they're not cleaning the couch or getting on your couch. Like, who cares? I was like, what if, then that turned into, what if people drive up to your house and then burn it down? Or what if they don't burn it down? What if they show up, plug their car in like a responsible adult, take some power, write me a check and leave? Like, what if that's what happened? And all of a sudden you start looking at just cash just rolling in month after month, and you start getting really excited about whoever wants to roll up to your house.
That's really cool.
Hey, I wanted to ask a couple questions. I hope you didn't touch on them when I had to jump off. Are you guys getting any benefit from or looked into the Inflation Reduction Act and some of the infrastructure you're talking about building out?
Yeah,
we are. So, oh, go ahead.
That actually is one of the ways that we have shortlisted like some of these churches for doing, and like as you can see here from a priority standpoint, and this ITC is the investment tax credit, and this is different incentives for these opportunities. So that's one of the things that makes this model so attractive, is potentially getting 70% of the capital spend back through the investment tax credit, and these investment tax credits are actually transferable, and Evergreen is actually building their marketplace for projects that create these investment tax credits, where buyers like corporations that have big tax bills, and from what I understand, these investment tax credits sell on the market for anywhere for 92 to 96 cents on the dollar. So most of the capital you can get back. So yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that started leaning heavily into becoming the energy company in this model, is when we started, because we really refined this Gigs Go Green narrative by submitting through U.S. Department of Energy facilitates a lot of funding through prize money on HeroX.com, and through multiple submissions, we've really been refining this Gigs Go Green narrative and tapping into some of the resources that the U.S. Department of Energy facilitates through that funding mechanism.
Cool. And I've got another call coming in, but I'd be interested in the model of tiny houses. Is it going to be a fix to the ground? Or are they going to be mobile?
Fixed to the ground. So basically, just think of traditional construction, but with a lot of green initiatives, cement alternatives, full insulation, permanent housing, bolted to the ground, electric, water, plumbing, everything. These are not these aren't trailers, and they're not trailers, and they're not mobile.
And it may be better, Tyler, too, if we potentially drop the tiny home, because I think that there is some negative connotation around, and potentially just position it as a eco village would probably, but there might even be some negative connotations around an eco village as well. But we're open for better positioning that, Keith, as far as some ideas, because it's in Thornton, and the parcel that we're looking at is actually right adjacent to the last stop on the inline. So we're hoping to is absolutely right, because the opportunity, what the vision is to do a 2-story main dwelling unit, and then have an attached that's got 4 bedrooms in the main dwelling unit, and then have a attached ADU that's 2 bedrooms, because like thinking about the opportunity to do Airbnb in the 2-bedroom attached ADU, and then have 4 gig workers in the 4 bedrooms in the main house, and then have a shared kitchen, washer, dryer, common area that can be shared between the attached ADU and the 2-story 4-bedroom main unit, and then have where with the short-term rental, where that can provide an additional revenue stream for the main house dwellers to, again, decrease their cost of living. We think that it would be very profitable from a cash flow standpoint. And then through the community land trust, the parcel will be owned, in perpetuity by whoever that we want to onboard, as far as multi stakeholders, whether it's the, like RTD has a parking lot right next door to this parcel that's a ghost town. And then like the city of Thornton also has a small undeveloped. So the opportunity of not even having garage or parking facilities where they would use the RTD parking lot, and hopefully we can get Thornton on board to to build out this, to really create a micro grid with this parcel in the parking lot with the solar, upgrade the parking lot with the solar canopy, so that it makes better use and moves it again from the expense category into the income producing asset category for RTD, Thornton, and our parcel.
Well, I know we're a couple minutes over. Thank you guys so much for showing up. We just want to invite you all to be part of this with us if you want to be. And thanks, Katie, for the opportunity to share this. Really excited to build it out.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if John or Keith had some more questions. I mean, I don't have to drop here, but
Well, I thought Keith said, didn't you say you had another call starting, Keith?
I do. I'm going to have to jump, but great presentation. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you guys for being here. I have to jump here too. But I did want to thank you guys for this, and it was really new information for me as well. I agree with Paula. It's I don't know anything about this, but it does like open my brain to a lot of new ideas, which is why I love these Eco-Symposiums, because I feel like every single time I leave with like new nuggets and new ideas, and I'm like, whoa, I can apply that. And I'm really excited for what you guys are up to. And if there's anything that can do to support you in your new eco village, tiny home, whatever you're calling it, I'd love to help, advertise that or however we can with Climate Action Network, because I think that's really awesome. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Katie. Appreciate you guys.
yeah,
I'll-
John, you.
Yeah, I'll just say I have quite a few people in this space. I have business partners. We wrote a book on chaining a couple of years ago. It's on Amazon. I put it in the chat. If there's anything that I can do to, if it would be of value to you that I share your contact information, I got your whatchamacallit code, QR code here too. I got that. If you want me to spread that around to some folks, I'd be happy to do that and introduce you to some other people.
yeah, no, love that. And one of the things, just to, I think the big opportunity, I think, is to really facilitate more regular conversations around doing through a mastermind group dynamic of people that are interested in, that see the opportunity, because upgrading homes to be high performance homes, it's not something that you press a button. It's a process, right? So the opportunity of getting better at creating a funnel, because like one of the things that's a question mark for a lot of people is, does it make sense to sell my house right now? But by leaning into this narrative around high performance homes, and then potentially creating an exit strategy through this cooperative ownership model, is one of the things that we're really excited, because again, we're playing the long game here, and this is only going to amplify as things get simpler for onboarding people into this on-chain technology, which lots of efforts are being done on a global basis to greatly simplify that and reduce people's learning curve, and just make it easier for people.
Dummy it down, make it easy. You guys, my pool is overflowing for the third time today, so I got to go drain my pool. It is a faucet of rain right now.
Oh,
A
no.
faucet.
All right, we'll help you get that resolved.
Torrential.
Well, thanks again, you guys. Great to connect. Looking forward to working with you guys all more in the future.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Very
Good
nice
seeing
to
you.
meet you guys.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Seth.
Be good.